It's the night of the Loy Krathong festival. The entire city has gathered, and you already see the lights beginning to illuminate the area of the city by the river. You see children playing on the streets, merchants selling their goods and some food. You see your fellow monks gathering for prayer on the other side of the river. And you also see some foreign merchants drinking nearby, others taking in the magic of the spectacle. You also see the floats that people have created. And they're beautiful. They're small little bouquets wrapped in almost like a banana leaf, and they place it with some sort of offering to their ancestors, to spirits, and it's meant to be a release of suffering or a tribute to Buddha. And it can be all of those things at the same time. Did you prepare one yourself? And if so, who for?
I have actually.
Yeah.
Just a modest
float
of fruit.
Hmm.
In memory of my master. My master who took me in.
Okay. One of your fellow monks yells out to you as you're crossing the bridge. He says, "Tao, you're taking so long. We were supposed to be here an hour ago."
Brother, I'm here at the right time.
You're always late. I've been waiting for you. Everyone's been asking me where you are. And I know you always like to move at your snail pace, but listen, I just need you to get to your spot. Okay?
Then let us go.
Okay. You eventually find your spot, and as you get into your prayer pose, you take a moment and you place the float into the water. One of your fellow monks helps to light it before sending it on its way, and it floats down the river. As it floats down the river, illuminated, what thought occurs to you? What thought comes to mind, thinking of your main guide on this monk journey?
Just to remember how I got here, why I'm here, all the specific events that led me here.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, as if you're going into a meditative state. You're chanting within. You don't have to say it out loud, but find your stillness. The sounds of the city around you have disappeared behind the Om chant. Almost instinctively, you find yourself in sync with the other monks that chant out loud. You see the face of the monk that took you in, that raised you, You see your life passing by, and every small feeling feels a little bit more amplified as you bring it to attention, calling it to cure itself, to put itself to ease. You feel a bit of pain. You feel a bit of hurt. Are you able to put them to ease, or do they linger with you?
They linger.
Is there a specific memory that's latched onto them that prevents you from releasing the pain or the animosity?
The very early memory.
Do you see
One that I can't. It's one that I can't really piece together.
Mm-hmm.
From very early on in my childhood, I was very lost and alone, hungry.
And so I imagine it's almost like streaks of color against black. You see, with each color representing a feeling and a piece of the memory that doesn't quite all come together. And then you see his face. And when you see him, what do you feel?
I felt warm. I found kind of peace, but I was unsure.
There's an uncertainty. As you pluck through your memories, it takes you back to a time when you were a younger monk. And as you open your eyes, you stand just outside the temple, welcoming some guests that come with their offerings. Amongst the many guests that come your way, whose offerings you particularly receive on behalf of the temple, are Mainak and Mak. They approach you, and Mak actually used to serve with the temple as well. When you were just starting out, you guys are close in age, so you feel quite close with him. You guys have a bit of a bond. His life has since changed. He's a fisherman now, and he has a new wife. He's starting a family. Him and his wife approach, and he waves to you, and he says, "Tao, how's it going? It's good to see you."
Mak, greetings.
Hey, this is Tao. I told you the stories about when we were in the temple together. His wife is pretty quiet for the most part. She kind of nods, and there's just a very light feeling that you get from their presence. But he says, "I have some news, Tao.
Please share."
I'm gonna be a dad."
Wow.
Yeah, we just found out. He puts his hand against her still flat belly, and she kind of nods. What do you say?
I say, congratulations, Monk, with deep sincerity. However, I keep my distance. I don't get overly excited. I just wish them well.
Well, yeah, no thanks. I figured you'd still be here, but we just wanted to drop off our offerings to get Buddha's blessing for a healthy child.
Take my bag.
They give you a basket. Within the basket are some offerings, fruits, rice, grain, assorted foods. They hand that to you, and he says, "So, you getting any closer to that nirvana?"
It's getting there. It's hard to say.
You
It's a
see it.
long journey.
His face is almost half mocking, like he's not, like he doesn't actually think it's a thing that anybody is ever going to achieve. But he says, "All right, well, I mean, the best to you is how I really hope you get there. Maybe another 20 years, who knows?"
Maybe another 20.
It's getting towards the end of the day. The sun is beginning to set, and the guests have started to dwindle down. The numbers of guests have dwindled down. They kind of trickle in here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty quiet. And as you're clearing things away and putting away some of the offerings, there's another guest that comes in, and he kind of kneels in the spot where you were standing earlier, awaiting you. He has a straw hat.
Am I near him? Or-
No, you're kind of like putting things away
Right.
elsewhere, but he's like waiting in your spot.
I finish up and I glance over and notice. I don't want to disturb him, but I'll just be around. And when there's a moment, I'll ask his name. Say, brother, how are you?
As you approach, you notice that his arm appears hurt. Like you can see, his robe is dark, but as you approach, you notice that there is in fact some sort of blood, and it looks fresh. His arm looks hurt, his left arm.
Knowing what I know about first aid, I'll try and find a bandage without even asking
Mm-hmm.
if he needs any help, and come back with just cloth to bandage him up.
Okay, so your first instinct is to help the man. You want to go and get some bandages for him. As you turn away to go and get the bandages, he reaches at your wrist.
I kind of look back.
As he grabs at your wrist and you look back, he looks back up at you, and you look into his eyes. There's a moment that almost feels like it's like triggering. You almost black out. You're again. It's almost as if you're in that same trance, that same meditative state, and it's everything is against black. You see colors starting to come in. You see the greens of envy. You see the blues of joy, and you see yellows come in, and you see reds, and the reds continue, and they continue to draw circles. You feel the trauma of your youth. You feel those feelings of being alone. You feel lost, afraid. And there's one question that lingers in your mind as this circle begins to form, almost like a ring of fire. It's, why did they leave me? As the black vanishes, you awake, and it's night. No one stands before you. The temple is quiet, save for chanting that you hear coming from behind in the inner part of the temple. But that question lingers. You come back to the festival, and it's coming to an end. Of all the memories that could have been plucked on the night of the festival, it's those two. The one with your friend Mock and his wife, you know, for obvious reasons. The other one, you're not sure why, but for whatever reason, every year on the same day that happened, that question would come up in your mind, and it never stopped. Tonight, on the night of the festival, it came to you again. As everybody's starting to clean up and put things away, you look up at the sky and you see the stars, but you also see the lanterns, and the lanterns float away off in the distance in all the different directions. And as you look up at this beautiful illuminated night sky, what do you feel?
I feel slight unease.
Yeah.
Every time that memory comes back, I stray further from peace.
Compared to your peers, you've excelled in almost every lesson that the monks have put towards you. But it feels like you take 10 steps forward and 11 steps back. Especially every time at that time of the year. As you guys are clearing out and you're headed back towards the temple, you see one of the monks just on the side street on your way back to the temple, and you see him walk down an alley that heads in the opposite direction of the temple.
Being curious, I follow.
As you follow him, you see him walking down the alleyway. His orange robe is bright. It's even with a little bit of light, it's very, very easy to spot him. And you see him grabbing someone.
My first instinct is to intervene. However, I'm not combative. I say stop.
He doesn't. And it appears to be getting more violent. He's and you notice his shoulders seem to be broadening, and his arm span appears to be widening.
Brother, stop.
Are you approaching, or are you keeping your distance?
I want to put my arm on his trap, on his shoulder, just to let him know I'm here.
As you approach him to try and put your hand on his shoulder, you hear him, there's almost like a growling coming from him. And he's moving around and his body's almost like shaking and jittering.
This is nothing I've seen before. Can I see the other person?
No. His body
is there another person?
There's somebody that's struggling, yes. You can hear short, muted cries.
I try to get the other monk to face me.
Okay.
Just like turn his body.
Roll for athletics.
Athletics. That's a 7.
Okay. So you try to pull him away, but you feel like your grasp does almost nothing to him. He kind of shrugs you off, not even looking back towards you, and you hear snarling and you hear snapping of bone. You hear like he's eating into flesh.
I back away. This is not human. This is nothing I've seen before.
Are you backing away in fear?
Almost. This is. I'm unsure.
Feeling of uncertainty within, feeling of fear, a mild fear, makes you take a step back, and then another. And as you pull out of the alley back onto the street, you see a couple of guards walking your way, just kind of, leisurely walking, keeping an eye on everything. Do you say anything to them?
I do.
What do you say?
I say, guards. My brother needs help.
Okay. What's going on?
In the alley, he's hurting someone.
They look down the alley, and they see the monk's robes. They run down the alley, and they come back. They say, yeah, I guess he was feeling a bit sick. Your brother, he's throwing up over there.
What?
He's just throwing up. My fellow guard is bringing him over.
No, I heard him.
Brother, have you had something to drink tonight? I don't think that's really the way.
I don't drink. Let me see.
You look down the alley and you see the monk's arm over the guard. He looks like he's sick, like he's been throwing up. He looks frail. He looks like there's actually nobody that you recognize.
Guards, there was another person.
So you're saying there was another monk in the same alley who was also in need of help?
Someone being hurt.
You can take a look for yourself.
Never mind.
Okay. You retreat to your temple, and as you find your way to your quarters, you're walking down the hallway, and you hear coming from behind you. The hallway is dark.
I maintain my stature, and I say, hello there. I don't turn back.
The noise stops.
I continue on.
You open the door to your quarters. You move in. Do you quickly close the door behind you, or are you calm about it?
I'm calm.
You keep your calm. You close the door. Roll for wisdom.
Saving throw or just regular?
Saving throw.
10.
Okay. It's hard to shake the feeling of fear and uncertainty. The festival has different effects on everyone, and where in most cases it's very uplifting, grief and feelings of um, loss or pain can be amplified through the chants and through the energies of the night. You go to rest for the evening, but the memory plays back for you again and again during your dreams. When you wake up, you're tired, fatigued. You did not have a good night of rest. That day during meditation, you chant with the others and you try to find peace. What suffering are you trying to acknowledge today?
I think back to the time where I was met with another beast. One that took away my friend.
As you go back and try to focus on this specific suffering, it triggers another part of a memory for you. And you remember a time when Mak's wife, Mainak, came to the temple to see you in particular. Her stomach was a little bit bigger now. It had been a few months since you had last seen her with last time you saw her with Mak. And this time she comes to you and she looks a bit saddened.
Mainak, come. What is wrong?
Tao, I seek your guidance.
Please share.
Mak often spoke of your ability to help people with their pains and their suffering, and well, I've just gotten news that he's not going to be able to come home soon. He's I don't know if you had heard, but he was conscripted to fight in the war, and they said he was injured. He's going to survive, but I'm afraid he won't be back in time for the birth of our child.
No. I know Mak better than anyone else. He's a fighter. He'll come back.
But what if he doesn't?
I know him. But please feel free to stay as long as you'd like. We'll keep you company.
I'd like to make an offering for his well-being. The memory flashes forward, and you see Mak returning to the temple, this time alone. He says to you, he's constantly looking down, very different from the Mak that you knew.
Mak. Brother.
Tao, I didn't make it back in time.
That is alright. You're here.
came home. May and my child were there, and I stayed with them, and we were happy. And this went on for weeks. I knew something had changed about her, but our neighbors started talking. When I would leave the home that I had always known as home, they would tell me, I thought they were lies, Tao. They said that her and my child had passed while I was away. And when I confronted her about it, she's still there, Tao. I think my home needs to be blessed. They need to be put to rest.
I grab his shoulder. Said, say no more.
Do you go there yourself?
I do. I don't want to inconvenience anyone, and I think maybe I shouldn't have, but I make it kind of more personal, like a personal thing for me to do.
A man walks by you as you head towards the home, walking down the small streets. You can't help but shake the feeling of familiarity. You don't see his eyes. He has a straw hat on and dark robes. As he passes you, there's a feeling of a dark aura coming from him, a negative energy. Do you acknowledge it?
I remember this feeling. And I glance.
You almost notice him glance back at you, corner of his eye.
And I remember first time I saw him.
Do you do anything?
I don't know what to do.
You stand in the street. In disbelief, maybe? Uncertainty, again? You hear that same growling coming from behind you, opposite where the man in the straw hat is walking. You hear a...
I want to keep composure, but I look.
He's disappearing through the crowd. You look back, away from the man in the straw hat, towards the growling that you hear behind you. And through the crowd of people walking by, crossing in front of your view, off in the distance, you see a monk in robes. He looks familiar, but he turns and walks away before you can see his face.
Man, I must be seeing things again.
You continue to Mock's house. When you arrive, you can feel it. The presence is unpleasant. You feel an energy that almost leaves a pain in your chest. There's a yearning. Whatever is here does not want to be disturbed. You don't hear a word, but you can feel it. Don't take us from our home. What do? You know the chant, you know the prayer.
Take a split second before I walk in, but continue on into the center of the living room. I sit cross-legged.
You see
Put
her.
my arms together.
You see her before you're able to close your eyes. You see her standing across the room. She stands there, staring at you. Anger in her eyes. Don't do this, Tao. This is my home.
I stall for a quick sec, but I remember to close my eyes and continue on with the chant.
Don't do this, Tao. Please. Her anger turns to pleading.
I know to bring my emotions to it.
Roll for wisdom saving throw.
13.
You won't get rid of us, Tao. You cannot purge us from our home. Look at my child, Tao. Do you keep your eyes closed? Or you're watching her? You watch as the child walks holding her mother's hand. The words are incoherent, but you see her pulling at her mother's dress. She looks sad.
Try again.
Roll wisdom saving throw. You feel a cold grasp wrap around your neck. Don't make me do it, Tao. Don't make me do this.
I'm not here to hurt you.
You're here to take us from our home, Tao.
Here to put you at peace.
As you chant, again and again, her words become muted until it finally dissipates. And the
I
weight
grab my neck.
it still feels a little bit cold. But the weight that you felt on your chest as you walked into the room has lifted. There's a warmth to the light as it pours in through the windows of the once cold room. You know that you've put them to peace. Behind you standing outside the doorway. You see some neighbors peeking in, watching, but you also see Mock on his knees crying at the doorway. His face cupped in his hands.
I walk towards the outside. I don't say a word. I just place my hand on his shoulder.
As you place your hand on his shoulder, he turns to you, and there's a look of anger in his face, and he snarls at you. He says, "You've done enough! Go away!"
I start walking.
You accept his statement as an emotional reaction in a very understandable scenario. You walk back to the temple. The memory will linger with you for a long time. What do you feel after that experience?
So, I feel conflicted. Never easy. Disassociate. But it's what I was taught. This is how we reach peace.
After that last moment that you shared with Mock, you never see him again. You don't know if he ever left the village or if he simply led the rest of his life in seclusion. You come out of your meditative state, and again, as peaceful a life as you try to lead, the chaos of the outside world always seems to find its way in. And this has never rung more true than a couple of years from that day. It started as rumors. People come to you in the village saying that the war efforts are not going well. They give you offerings to try and help bring their family members back home, those that have been conscripted. You do what you can, you say your chants, you take their blessings, but there are rumors of strange monsters, strange creatures that are attacking the king's forces. They describe them in gruesome ways, and they sound horrifying, and you can't help but think that it's probably just, exaggerated to some degree. Propaganda, maybe. But then the evacuations start. And they begin to evacuate the entire village. Do you leave during the evacuation?
I stay as long as I can. I don't want to. This is my home, in a sense.
So you don't want to leave? Sorry?
It's all I ever really knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the last one to go.
You're, okay. So you stay as long as you can. The village has been evacuated. You've helped in every way possible to help get the people out, the elderly and the young villagers have definitely struggled, and so you've done your part. As you sit atop the temple, the temple staircase that kind of watches over, towers over the rest of the village, you see the enemy forces beginning to move in. It happens during the night, and they start to flood in indiscriminately, regardless of whether or not there are people in the village or not. They're burning everything down. And from what you can see up by the temple, it's just darkness. You can't make out the silhouettes. They seem large, but you can't make out the details. Do you go to investigate, or do you find a place to hide?
I hide.
You know the temple very well, so you hide. You hide in an area just below the worship area. And as you hide there, in the small cramped space, you hear roars and growls coming from up above. You hear crashing noises, and you hear celebration at the end of it. Cheering, roaring. As the night passes... Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to know if I can make out a language, or...
Good question. No, you cannot. As the night passes, you find that the noise has ceased. Do you crawl out of your hiding space, or do you wait a bit longer?
I wait.
You wait a bit longer, and what drives that? What are you feeling?
I am just practicing my patience. I know as much as I want to get out there and investigate and protect my temple, I should be patient at these times and not lead with my emotions.
You wait. And it's hard to tell in a small cramped space how long it's been, but you assume it's either afternoon or evening. But it's been hours since you've heard a noise. What do you do?
I break out and step out.
So you crawl out of your hiding space, and it's been several hours, but the dust is still settling on the ruins of your sacred temple. As the sun begins to set in the distance, you see the flames of the village as everything has been set aflame. You smell ash, and it's a little bit harder to breathe. Amongst the clouds of smoke and amongst the ruins, there is almost like a singular ray of light that comes in through a hole in the ceiling of the temple, and a beautiful, almost majestic looking blue bird rests atop what used to be a stone pillar.
I take it as a sign. This must mean something. And I approach it.
You notice the bird's wing is injured. As you approach, it doesn't react in fear, and because it can't fly away, it does not.
My instinct right now is to take care of it. I was so helpless with my village. I feel like this is something that I can control.
How do you take the bird?
I have one arm close to my chest.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of scoop the bird off the pillar, bring it closer to my body, and kind of bring it close to my heart.
You see that it reacts maybe to your warmth, to your body warmth, maybe to the sound of your beating heart. But it doesn't react with hostility. Instead, you can see its body almost relax and ease in the comfort of your presence.
I kind of pet it,
Mm-hmm.
just slow, just trying to relax it.
You see it ease up even more.
I smile a bit. Makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. So you stand there amidst the rubble and the dilapidated temple with the majestic blue bird tiny in your hands, and amongst all the chaos you found some sort of order. And that brings you a little bit of peace. Do you continue your meditations here in the temple? Or do you leave?
I stay. Why would I leave when I still have my peace here?
The evening rain puts out the fires. Not immediately, but eventually they die out. And with the coming of the next day, there's almost a new village that you look upon from your temple. New, at least from your perspective. A chance to start anew. You feed the bird, you keep it, right? That's the idea?
Yeah.
How do you keep the bird?
I bring it everywhere.
Okay.
It's my company, and I feel like it means something.
This continues for several months, and you continue your meditations, and you use the bird as your center. It becomes almost your guiding om to your chant. One day you notice that the bird's wing has healed. Enough to a degree that it can flutter off of the ground. And it gives you the idea that it may leave once it is fully healed. What do you do?
I play it safe. I I still, I don't want it to not properly fly, so I keep it bandaged for a little longer. I just want to make sure.
You bandage the bird's wings, and one night as you go down to rest, you're awoken by the bird's cries.
I run.
You
towards it.
You go through the doorway of your quarters, and as you stare down the hallway, there's a monk, orange robes. He looks down the hallway back at you, his face obscured by a shadow, and you hear a low growl, just
I want to get past them.
the cries of the bird come from behind him. How do you get past him?
Is he staring my way?
Yes.
Can I see him clearly?
Everything except for his face.
I acknowledge him, but I want to go around him.
As you moved. Yep.
I don't know how I feel about seeing another brother of mine, but right now my focus is on the bird.
There's a desperation within you, and as you hurriedly move down the corridor, the growling becomes louder. And while you can't see the face, what you do notice through the shadows are that the eyes stand out to you. Around the pupils appear to be red circles. And as you step closer, the monk steps forward out of the shadows, and you see yourself. A menacing look on your face. What do you say? Or what do you do?
I don't have an explanation for this, so I pray within, kind of. Like I don't chant out loud, I just pray within.
He walks towards you. And with every moment of hesitance, it appears to grow larger, ever so slightly. It moves towards you, shoving you back.
I try to shove it back.
Roll wisdom, not a saving throw. You shove it back. And as you do, you're still praying within. You're saying the prayers within. You're finding your center. You push this monk, this imposter, whoever this is. There's a look of frustration across his face, and he says, he moves to shove you again.
Do it one more time. This time, as I do, I say go.
Roll wisdom. Okay. You push again, and he falls, disappearing into the shadows, almost into smoke. You run towards the crying of the bird. And you see, just as you come into view, the bird clenched within the jaw of a snake. It couldn't fly away with its bandaged wing.
I look for the closest branch.
You pick one up off of the ground next to you.
I want to swing. I want to kill the snake.
The snake looks at you, and in its eyes, peer into yours. What do you see?
I see a familiarity, like I don't know if it's my master. I can't kill this snake right now.
You drop the branch. It falls to the ground, and the snake disappears between the crevices of this stone. You had a moment of mercy against a beast that took that which was closest to you. Why mercy? Why against the snake? You collapse to your knees. Your hands fall to your side. And there's a moment of acceptance. You acknowledge the suffering. You acknowledge every pain that you've ever felt. Every feeling of loss. Every feeling of grief. Every feeling of animosity. And you feel like you're losing touch with yourself. But then you realize there is no self. Your body begins to feel light. Every feeling of want starts to dissipate. You pull away from your body. You can almost feel yourself floating up. You float amongst the stars, looking down at an energy. Not any one specific thing or person or place. You look down at an energy. In accepting the suffering, acknowledging it, and moving forward, you've become enlightened. But as you look down at the energy before you, you notice a darkness. And you feel it pervading the essence of life. The oneness. As you look towards the darkness, you see in its center a singular ring of red. A ring of fire. This is your calling if you've ever had one. Find the ring of fire. End the suffering. What is your name?
Tao Gunka.
What is your purpose?
To end the suffering.